Yeah. Pursue peace with everyone, as well as holiness, without which no one will see the Lord. See to it that no one falls short of the grace of God, and that no root of bitterness springs up to cause trouble and defile many. See to it that no one is sexually immoral or is godless like Esau, who for a single meal sold his birthright. For you know that afterward, when he wanted to inherit the blessing, he was rejected. He could find no ground for repentance, though he sought the blessing with tears. For you have not come to a mountain that can be touched and that is burning with fire, to darkness, gloom, and storm, to a trumpet blast, or to a voice that made his hearers beg that no further word be spoken. For they could not bear what was commanded. If even an animal touches the mountain, it must be stoned. The sight was so terrifying that even Moses said, I am trembling with fear. Instead, you have come to Mount Zion, to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. You have come to myriads of angels in joyful assembly, to the congregation of the firstborn enrolled in heaven. You have come to God, the judge of all, to the spirits of the righteous made perfect, to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel. See to it that you do not refuse him who speaks, for if the people did not escape when they refused him who warned them on earth, how much less will we escape if we reject him who warns us from heaven? At that time his voice shook the earth, but now he has promised once more, I will shake not only the earth but heaven as well. The words once more signify the removal of what can be shaken, that is created things, so that the unshakable may remain. Therefore, since we are receiving an unshakable kingdom, let us be filled with gratitude, and so worship God acceptably with reverence and awe. For our God is a consuming fire.
It was here when I really realized what was going on, and then I walked into this space, and this space has no people other than Philip. And it's an interesting space to sit in. And, you know, there was a little bit of fear of like, you know, I'm used to talking to people. I'm a people person. I relate to just, I don't know. I'm a hands-on person. Yeah. Let's put it that way. So, but no, question for you. You know, have you ever been around afraid or fearful of something?
Sure.
You know, I mean, and I'm not talking just like the example I gave where it's, you know, ugh. I mean, I'm talking something that actually makes you tremble at your knees. Has there ever been a time where you've been that fearful at all? I mean, in that regard. You know, I sat and really thought about that after I left the other day, and realized that I don't know that I've ever been that fearful. So when going through this scripture, it talks a lot about fear. And how it relates to the old covenant versus the new covenant. So let's just dive in. I'm going to read the passage 18 through 21 for just to start. And it says, "For you have not come to what may be touched, a blazing fire and darkness and gloom and a tempest, and the sound of a trumpet and a voice whose words made the hearers beg that no further messages be spoken to them, for they could not endure the order that was given. If even a beast touches the mountain, it shall be stoned." So right out of the gate, we're talking about Mount Sinai, okay? And the context of this passage really reveals two different ways of approaching God, okay? And this is the full 18 through 29. It reveals two different ways of approaching God. One approach, and that's what we're getting ready to dive into here, reveals, one is filled with fear, and then the other one is filled with grace. Mm-hmm. However, both require this reverence, and we'll talk about reverence later on. But this example, the passage of 18 through 21, talks about two different mountains. And the two different mountains represent the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. You've got Mount Sinai, where the Israelites met God, and then you have Mount Zion, where Christians met Jesus, you know, and he ascended in heaven. It's the culmination of our salvations, of our salvation, basically. It's not our salvation. but it is part of that whole process where he came, he died, he rose again, and he ascended into heaven. And so it's this really cool kind of picture that they give of these two different mountains. The new covenant is where we meet Jesus, the gatekeeper at Zion. So I say gatekeeper because John 14:6 says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. This is just another reiteration of that mountain, that picture of that mountain. So again, we go into this Sinai. It's fear and trembling. It's scary. Zion was about grace and connection. So Sinai, when they were coming to Mount Sinai, they were led by fire at night, led by a cloud during the day. Mm-hmm. The passage here says, a blazing fire and darkness and gloom and a tempest and the sound of a trumpet and a voice whose words made the hearers beg that no further messages be spoken to them. This is why I asked you, is there anything that has scared you that much or made you fearful that much that you would just beg someone to stop talking because death? Ultimately. They actually begged Moses not to hear from God and to just hear from him.
And this is all from an account from in Exodus.
Correct.
And we've been studying Exodus, and we'll be back into it. But this is a part where they were literally fearful. The storm, the whole deal.
Yeah.
The voice.
Yeah.
We were going to kill you if you touched the mountain.
Yeah.
I have never been in that situation.
Yeah.
Never been in that situation. Mm-hmm. There's been some storms that I've been like. I'm answering your question.
No, you're good. You're good.
I've been in some storms where I was like, okay, something bad might happen. What am I going to do if a tree falls on my house during these winds? What am I going to do if something happens? But it's always in terms of what am I going to do? I'm concerned,
right?
But I'm also thinking about the next steps,
right?
Like responding, being aware, all that kind of stuff. I have never been to the point where I was like, Tim, why don't you just talk to God and I'll be fine? Why don't you go in there and I'll be just fine? Right. You know what I mean? I want to go back to my home. I want to just back up from this. This is way too scary. I've never been there. And I don't think anybody watching has.
Yeah.
Even if we think of our worst case scenario where we were fearful, it doesn't match what they were feeling at this mountain.
Right. And that's kind of what I was thinking about when I left here the other day. It was like, wow, man, this is me standing anywhere and hearing God's voice and having no other recourse but to drop to my knees because of fear.
Yeah.
Really, it's it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's involuntary. It would be an involuntary action.
You just do it.
You would just do it because,
And you see prophets in the Old Testament that they had the visions or God transported them into his presence.
Correct.
And they just couldn't stand until someone touched their shoulder and gave them the power to stand up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this is the experience that a whole group of 1 million plus people felt at the base of a mountain. That's how much a presence of the Lord was in that moment. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's really the only, I'm not trying to do anything.
No, you could jump right in.
But that's really the only moment in Scripture where 1 million plus people felt like the one prophet did when they were transported into God's presence. And so nobody was in denial that God was on that mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was so bad that, and because no one liked Moses, they sent him up the mountain.
Yeah.
And basically just, they were so afraid. They were like you said, Tim, just go ahead. You talk
Sacrificial
to God.
lamb, go.
So
good luck.
To the point, and to the point, part of the command was that, if any of your livestock, if any animals come near the mountain, boom, they'll be killed as well. They set up these barriers to ensure this separation from certain death, because it was holy ground. I was just going to say, it's just an example of our distance between God and man in this scenario. Mm-hmm. Before Christ's coming, we had this separation. We had this we had to give sacrifice for our sin, and it did. And this is a really good picture of that separation, because they put barriers up so that their livestock wouldn't wander in, or that the people wouldn't accidentally just step over into that boundary. And
that's right. And I thought it was interesting when we covered it in Exodus, and I think it's interesting now. It says, "It shall be stoned." That means God's not going to kill the animal.
right,
Like Uzziah, you've got to.
right,
So God maintains the distance, and you acknowledge that distance by killing that animal that got too close.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which was interesting because I never picked up on that before in my studies. I always thought it was just an immediate death, but you're exactly right. They were required to do
that.
this. So,
Yeah.
But as we come into verse 21, let me find verse 21. So indeed, so terrifying was the sight that Moses said, "I tremble with fear." So everyone was just very, very fearful, but even Moses was afraid. But he still went. He followed God's voice to the top of the mountain and met God there on Sinai. But fear, that was really what kind of pushed a lot of the narrative there. So moving on into verse 22. "But you have come to Mount Zion and to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to the innumerable angels in festal gathering, and to the assembly of the firstborn who are enrolled in heaven, and to God, the judge of all, and to the spirits of the righteous made perfect, and to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel." So Mount Zion is the heavenly kingdom, and it represents God's grace through the sacrificial blood of his Son. It represents God's kingdom, his dwelling place, where he will be. It will be filled with worship. We came before in fear, and now because of this new covenant, we can boldly approach the throne because Jesus is the mediator. It says that. Just some reflective or some comparisons here between Moses and Jesus. They were both the mediators that no one liked. And that's the first and foremost. No one liked them. I mean, there's pages upon pages, if not books upon books, that speak to that. Both Moses and Jesus were sent up their respective mountains to die. Which we talked about that the other day, which I thought was a really, really awesome connection there. Unintentionally for Jesus, though, this created the pathway to salvation, to God, which just blows my mind how this horrible story of just really torture and death, but ultimately resurrection and grace and communication and adoption and everything that ties into this relationship. It gets really exciting. So with Jesus as the mediator, we can approach God, we can approach the throne of God without fear. Because of Jesus, we get to experience grace rather than death, rather than fear. Verse 24 basically dives in. It says, and to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel. So Jesus' sprinkled blood, it speaks a better word than that of Abel. Well, again, it's another example. And this is what I really, really liked about this scripture passage, is that it gives this very clear, over and over again, it's a repetitive picture of the old covenant versus the new covenant. It's another example when he speaks of Abel and the sacrifice that he made. That was a temporary sacrifice. That basically only covered our sins for so long, and then we had to do another sacrifice, and then we had to do another sacrifice, and we had to do it. It just was on and on and on. Well, God took that responsibility away from us by sending his own Son to die, who was the ultimate sacrifice and the only sacrifice that matters. No more need for sacrifice. That's the key thing with the new covenant. There's no more need. We have once we accept Christ, we have salvation. There's no more need to slaughter animals, to shed blood for our atonement.
Right. Yeah. There's an interesting thing about the blood of Abel. You have done correctly in talking about his sacrifice and the sprinkling of the sacrifice. But this is a dual thing as well.
Okay.
So better than the blood of Abel, Cain shed Abel's blood, went into the ground. God is saying Jesus has a better way of living that doesn't include murder.
Very good.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then you go to the sacrifice, which you have to repeatedly do murder in order to cover your sin. And then you have Jesus, who has allowed himself to be murdered by mankind for the final time.
Wow.
You see
Yeah.
what?
Oh, yeah,
See?
totally.
So it's better in a dual aspect than the blood of, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely makes sense.
And it's really a powerful picture. Yeah. So
very cool.
I just wanted to add the thing that we don't often think about. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you're spot on with the sacrifice, spot on. But then there's that extra little dig that you can like, wow, that if you really meditate on that, it's really a powerful thing.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that.
And then you don't have, oh, sorry, I'm not trying to take over. But I get kind of excited about this because the blood of Abel, he's dead.
Right.
There's a resurrection. This death provided a resurrection.
Right.
So now when we die, our blood just doesn't go into the ground.
Right.
We go to heaven.
Right.
It's not the end.
Right.
Which is a cool little thing. Does that make any sense?
It does.
You can say no, Philip. That's really wild.
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Cain and Abel when kind of approached, but I did not approach it that way because I wasn't thinking blood into the ground.
Yeah.
And I like that.
And the cross, the blood went into the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
so many parallels.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a rich passage.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
And I think people skim over it.
Well, and even in my notes, I had kind of it blocked in, but I pulled it out separately because it needed to be pulled out.
Yeah.
Because it does. It defines the shift away from fear of God and into a relationship and a direct communication with Him.
There's also no blood on Mount Sinai.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? It's
not allowed.
No, they do a sacrifice in order to go up there, but there's no blood up there.
I never paid attention to that, but you're right. Yeah.
Well, sorry.
No, hey, that's great.
It's in the morning at 9 and my brain is really working.
And I've had a lot of coffee.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Sorry to cut you, but I just wanted to throw that in. Yeah.
So verse 25 says, "See that you do not refuse him who is speaking. For if they do not escape when they refused him who warned them on earth, much less will we escape if we reject him who warns from heaven."
Yeah.
So bottom line, if you reject Jesus, okay, basically, and the gift and pathway that he provides, or provided, or provides, you should be fearful.
Yeah.
Because the next thing that you're going to hear is God's voice from heaven, and it's going to open up the heavens and the earth this time, and it's going to be a whole different experience, I think, for this world. Now we'll dive into this topic a little bit later on, but we should be fearful. But let's reflect back, so let's look at the people that were with Moses here for a second. Everyone that rejected Moses, what happened? They wandered around in the wilderness until they died.
Yeah.
They all died in the wilderness, and he warned them. Moses warned them, and that's what this is saying. So if you refuse the person who's warning you, it's going to come again.
Yeah. There's a consequence to a refusal.
Yeah, so they rejected the warning, and there was a punishment. Mm-hmm. So one thing that we discussed the other day as well was in Leviticus 10, and I'll just read this. Now Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, each took his censer and put fire in it and laid incense on it and offered unauthorized fire before the Lord, which he had not commanded them. And fire came down out before the Lord and consumed them, and they died before the Lord. Then Moses said to Aaron, "This is what the Lord has said, among those who are near me I will be sanctified, and before all people I will be glorified." And Aaron held his peace. Aaron just watched his sons die. The reason that happened is because they refused God.
Yeah.
They rejected the warnings of his rule, his governance. Mm-hmm. And when they did that, they walked right into the temple like, I'm all, using your words, bag barbecue potato chips, you know?
Yeah, I'm all that.
And went in, and God said, yeah, no. Boom, you're dead. And to the point where there were others, it was in the house of Aaron, if I'm not mistaken. I flipped from it. But they had to tie ropes around the feet and drag them out, and they were dead because they didn't follow God. They didn't heed his warning. Which I think is a really, again, that's from Old Testament folding into the New Testament. Old Covenant, New Covenant, fear, grace. You know, it's this. It just continues on through the whole chapter. Verses 26 and 27 goes on to this. It says, "At that time, his voice shook the earth." That's in the time of Moses. "But now he has promised, yet once more I will shake not only the earth, but also the heavens." This phrase, "yet once more," indicates the removal of things that are shaken. That is, things that have been made by man in order that the things that cannot be shaken may remain.
Yeah.
So when God returns, he's not only going to shake the earth, he's also going to shake the heavens. We started talking about that earlier. So this is a picture of God's kingdom, his judgment, and the future of both believers and non-believers. You know, when this judgment comes, everything outside of his grace will fall away. It'll all fall away.
Yeah.
Yet once more, that term "yet once more," it explains that this has happened before. Okay? And it's going to happen again. You know, he promises that. That's a promise. This describes the removal of the present world and pictures all of its idols crushed.
Yeah.
All of the things that are in there are crushed. Broken, they're cast down. God's going to destroy all that man has made. All that remains will be that which belongs to the Lord. So for us as believers, as everything is hopefully we'll be gone.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But should the rapture come, or should Christ come today, we will watch the world fall away.
And you'll be
from
watching
us.
this without us.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'll be gone. Yeah. He will too. Yeah.
We should have done a little.
Yeah, that's right. Gone. And left our clothes like laid on the table.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So basically, bottom line is, do not put hope in the present world, for nothing in this world will continue.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So that's just really a powerful statement. Going into verse 28 and 29, it says here, "Therefore, let us be grateful." Let me start over again.
Yeah.
"Therefore, let us be grateful for receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, and thus let us offer to God acceptable worship with reverence and awe. For our God is a consuming fire." There's that consuming fire concept again. So let's go back into 29 or 28 again. So it talks about this kingdom that cannot be shaken, an unshakable kingdom. It's the kingdom that remains is us.
Yeah.
It's his purchased people, the folks that are adopted into his family. We are what are going to remain. There's not going to be any sin. There's not going to be any need. Sin has no power here. There's not going to be any need for war against sin because it's just not present. And I can't even wrap my mind around that.
Right.
I just can't. It's just because I struggle. I mean, we talked about that in our sermon series.
Yeah.
And it's this constant struggle that we have because of the fall of man, that we battle with sin. If you want to weight sins, whatever, but it's sin. Sin is sin. And it can be consuming, I should say. But it also represents, this unshakable kingdom also represents the stability of worship. So it allows an acceptable worship from us because there are no distractions of sin. There's no sin. So our worship, or what we conceive as worship here, I think is just going to be a completely different experience.
Yeah.
Just a completely different experience when we get to heaven. When all of the distractions, all the tears, all the fear, all the sin is washed away, what remains is going to be God's glory. And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the consuming fire, there's this. I watched a video the other day on I love watching tornadoes. They fascinate me, and they're just this beautiful picture of fear, horror, and fear can be, but from a distance, they're just magnificent.
They're really beautiful.
They really are. It's wonderful. I mean, it's a creation of God's, and it is beautiful. Although it can bring...
It is extremely dangerous, and we are sad for people that are in their path. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah,
but
that's not what we're saying.
You look at it, it's power and gorgeous. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
I just wish it wasn't destructive.
Right. So when you add fire to that, and this kind of ties back to what they were maybe seeing, as they were going to Mount Sinai, this leading by fire at night was a tornado of fire that just... I mean, I don't know. That's just kind of what was in my mind. But when you see a tornado of fire, not only is it just the destructive power of a tornado, but it is consuming everything. It is burning everything to nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just it's amazing, and it puts you in like this awe of what it is and the power that it has. Now imagine if you could take that same awe of what you're seeing and point it towards God and your worship. And it's that in and of itself stops me in my tracks.
Sure.
Because I can't get my mind to
wrap
all of that. So,
Yep.
So we live our entire lives with God's impending judgment. That consuming fire is our impending judgment on our souls. So those who reject Him, just like it says in this passage, they will not escape His consuming fire. He is going to burn everything away, and all that remains are His chosen people.
Yeah.
Those who accept Him through Christ's blood and resurrection, they will remain unshaken. So basically, kind of a little comment for the end is just, sin burns.
Yeah.
Righteousness does not.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of things, because this was excellent. Absolutely excellent. When you were just talking about consuming fire, that is the natural result of holiness. Is a consuming. It consumes everything that isn't holy. So when you're talking about what man made, everything we touch isn't holy.
Right.
And we have, with our sin that we've fallen into, have caused the entire world to fall. Right. So it's all going to be consumed. And whatever's left is just holy.
Right.
So, I have a question for you.
Okay.
You get to heaven, there's a consuming fire that takes all your works. And all your works is sent through this consuming fire. What's going to be left over?
My worship.
Well, no. What's going to be left? Yes. What's going to be left over scripturally? Refiner's fire. Are you familiar with that verse? Maybe not. That's fine.
I am, I think. Probably need to be reminded of it.
all your works is sent through a fire.
Right.
You remember that passage? And then what's at the end of it?
Is the...
You gave your wife one right before you got married.
Yeah. It's the ring. It's the
jewels.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do this on Sunday too. I can't remember it.
There's words that want to come out and they just don't.
Yeah, I know. I have that problem sometimes. Yeah. But everything else
I'm smelting rock to get gold, to get fine jewelry, to get... That's what's in my head, but those aren't
in
the
that
words.
passage it says wood, hay, and stubble is stuff that we do.
Right.
Which, if you think about wood, hay, and stubble, it goes up just like that. Yeah. Especially, we're dry right now in the recording of this. Very dry. So there's a lot of stuff that would go up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For us. So this consuming fire that comes through, if we even go through that consuming fire, we arrive at the other side as gold. Because we are His. And so His whole Mount Zion thing is saying, you don't have to fear any longer, because when that consuming fire comes, it's not going to touch you. It's just going to touch everything that isn't a part of me. That's encouraging.
That is encouraging.
Yeah, it's very encouraging. So how do you feel about that?
The consuming fire?
Yeah, I mean that whole thing that we just brought up. Yeah, I was going to move right on, but I'm waiting. But the purpose of this is for you to respond in a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, what does it do to your worship? Does that change your worship?
It should.
Yeah.
It should. Mm-hmm. You know, it my focus, well, it changes my focus. I don't know that it might change my worship, but it should change my focus.
I'm not saying that it was wrong.
No.
It just adds a layer, yeah.
But yeah, it's my focus is, you know, it's funny. I always look at this. I always put these up, and this is a perspective.
Yeah.
And what your perspective is what's in between your fingers, but you never see what's out here.
Yeah.
And so this kind of just maybe opens the aperture.
Yeah.
Of what we're able to see and understand.
And what we should be thankful for.
Right.
Yeah, because it's a bigger thing than just the
Right.
little picture. It's even bigger than our little aperture as it grows.
Right. And all of our assumptions are in here.
Yeah, and this is very tiny.
It is.
You know, it's very tiny. I think it's interesting that you mentioned worship, and then second, you talked about worship changing in the future. I think worship changes every 50 years for the church.
Yeah.
Right? And it's almost like God is saying, I'm getting you prepared for the future change. I have no scripture behind that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because
no scripture behind that, but
and God bless my dad. He's no longer with us, but my dad always struggled with music in the church.
Yeah,
you know, he just felt like it had to be a certain way, and so on and so forth. Which that's fine. There's folks out there like that. However, when we get to heaven, it's going to be people groups, Christians from thousands of different people groups that have different styles of worship. Mm-hmm. I may not understand it, but you know what? Bring it on.
But in heaven, it may just be one style.
It may be, yeah.
Because we're all singing together and nobody's going to care.
Yeah.
And there's no way to figure out what that style will be here on earth.
Yeah.
Because there's too many I can't say that word. There's too many different races.
Yep.
Yeah, and cultural differences, which are beautiful. Mm-hmm. I don't think everybody should be the same. I think we should acknowledge them. And we get to heaven, and somehow it merges into a unified system of worship that is just beautiful. And I can't, like, my aperture on that is really small, but I know that's what's going to happen.
Right.
I just can't wait to see what that is. Right?
Mm.
Yeah. So can't wait to see what that is. So in verses 22 through 24, you talk about, therefore, let us be grateful for receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken. And thus let us offer God acceptable worship and reverence and awe, which is the worship we just talked about, right? Mm-hmm. For our God is a consuming fire. So there's a kingdom coming that can't be shaken. Can we just say the best is yet to come?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So no matter what tomorrow holds, the best is still yet to come?
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Because I know as hard as we work on things here at, whether it be work, whether it be setting up for worship, whether it be doing whatever we're doing, we always do it for the glory of God. Yeah. That's our focus anyhow. But to think that that's trivial, really, you know, as to what's coming. Yeah. Which is neat.
So I feel like I can say this because sometimes I feel like my sermons are crap. And then sometimes I think that they're really good. Okay. And then when I think they're really good, I think, well, maybe they wasn't because I thought they were really good and maybe nobody else did. I thought that everything hit the way I wanted it to and it went like I wanted. Okay. So yesterday I had a sermon in the second hour that I think went very well, as in it was smooth. Mm-hmm. It followed a flow. It got the audience to where I thought God wanted them to be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So yesterday afternoon, and especially sitting here right now, I'm thinking, well, that was a good one, but the best is yet to come. So I bring that up to say, in your service, like you did a great job in worship yesterday. I thought it was very good, right?
Thank you.
But if we can keep in mind, well, that was good, but there's something else better. Mm. And the best is yet to come. So the next time I lead worship, I'm going to try to up my game. The next time I preach, I'm going to try to up my game. I'm going to try to, the best is yet to come in preparation for when the perfect best comes in the future. Right. Because that's what we're headed toward.
And the thing that we need to caution ourselves about is just that self-consuming
Right.
that comes into that, because pride can come into that.
Yeah, it can.
And we need to be cautious of that.
I think there's a humility in saying what I just did yesterday, I can be better.
I agree with that.
Do you know what I mean? It's not. It would be different if I came off the stage and said, "Yeah, I'm good. Next time I come up, it's just going to be, it's going to be good." But coming off the stage and saying, "Okay, that was a different level, and I need to reach for something better."
Yeah. I always think of
Do you know that's a humbling
it
thing?
is.
I think.
It's a sharpening.
Yeah.
And it's funny. We as a manager and leader of many people in my company, or the company I work for, you have individuals in life, and it's no different in the Christian walk as well.
Yeah.
That you sharpen one edge. You try to sharpen one edge, and the other edge gets dull.
Yeah.
And then you come back and you sharpen that edge, and then the other edge gets dull. And it's just this constant battle.
And then your sharpener wears out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, and that's...
And then you have to change.
Yeah. And that's a personal reflection, too. We sharpen one side, but we don't realize that the other edge is gone dull. So
what we have just described is sanctification. Mm-hmm. And we often
Becoming
are way
more.
too passive in our sanctification. And God's taking care of it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. But we're too passive in it. He's going to do it. He's going to do it. He's going to do it. Well, what if part of sanctification is you saying, okay, I did good there. How can I do that better? And so now you're thinking that way. God's already trying to form you into the image of Christ.
Yeah.
And you're on the same road.
Yeah. Or even take it another angle.
Yeah.
You are fearful of sharing Christ.
Okay, let's go there.
And you share Christ. Mm-hmm. And something wonderful happens. They accept Christ.
Yeah.
Or they just continue down that road. You see a physical change.
Yeah.
That they are going down the right direction, or going in the right direction down that road. I forget where I was going with that one.
Well, I think I can carry that ball a little
Okay.
bit. So you have that one experience. You're like, okay, so this is one. How many more?
Yeah.
How many more can I share with?
Well, it gives you strength.
Yeah,
And it's an
and I can try.
involvement,
I can try to make. I'm going to try to make my presentation better and try to. I think it's wrong to think I'm going to try to make my presentation better. I think it's better to say, how can I give my testimony in a more effective way?
There you go.
And you keep working on that.
Yeah.
And that's a sanctifying sort of thing. It was great here. This is what happened. God did all this.
Yes.
But how can I do it again and just open the door like he's asked us to so that he can walk right through and then save them?
Right.
Because he does the saving.
Yeah, we don't do any of that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's great. So verse 25 kind of leans into eager obedience. So you mentioned witnessing. We're supposed to be obedient in making disciples, right? So how eager are you to be obedient to that?
To make disciples? Mm-hmm. I try to be very obedient.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's a part of my married life where my wife and I were able to meet with this missionary. And it's the only missionary that I've ever met that had the gift of prophecy, which I've never been around that before. So it was a little, I had some cautions up.
And you should.
And so, but there was something that he told Sarah and I, and it was about, he looked at us immediately, didn't know us, and he just said, there's one word that comes to mind, and that's discipler. Mm-hmm. And he just shared a vision that he had for Sarah and I to be disciplers to whoever comes in our path. Mm-hmm. And that's what we try. Mm-hmm. Now, do we do it greatly? Sometimes we do it okay, sometimes we don't, but that kind of ties into what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
But I have taken that personally as the leader of my home and the leader of many at a different level. And so for work, one thing that I started was we have new hires that come in, and I will pray for them.
Yeah.
At lunch, we take them to lunch, and I will pray for them specifically for safety, for growth, for all the things. And I have literally I have opened my eyes, and the individual has been sitting across from me never closed his eyes, never did anything, still eating his sandwich going, Christianity is going to be extinct here soon. And I said, yeah, and I will be extinct with them.
Yeah.
So it showed me that, like we were talking about, you do it that one time, and it's, God puts words, the Holy Spirit comes into your mouth and actually speaks words sometimes. And it allows you to reflect back on that whole situation. I reflect back on that situation regularly because we always have to be ready to speak.
Yes.
If someone challenges us, not speak in hate, not speak in aggression, but speak with confidence, speak with courage. And that process right there gave me a different courage.
Yeah. I think him saying, or whoever she, could be she, saying that it's going to be extinct, Christianity is going to be extinct in 2000, it's been 2,000 years and people's been saying that. And they've tried to stamp it out and it just can't. You just can't stamp this thing out. And then we have this passage that says there's an unshakable kingdom because the best is yet to come.
That's it.
Yeah, so eat your sandwich, buddy. But yeah, the consuming fire isn't going to make us extinct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Confident and alert, this passage, to what is happening around us, but not fearful.
Correct.
Yeah. How much weight, do you think Christians give too much weight to what's happening around them in their life? You talked about fear, but
I think we get distracted.
yeah.
I think we lose sight because of our own sin, because of our own selfish desires in this world. I think we just lose perspective. Again, our perspective may get a little narrow.
Yeah.
And we're really not seeing what's out here.
Yeah.
And our assumptions become very narrow. There's just.
So what would you say to the Christian that is constantly fearful of things? And I know some people like this.
Yeah.
The gas prices are going up. It's going to be awful. This is going to happen. It's going to be awful. And they talk about the latest political thing, and it's going to be awful. And the world is falling apart. The world is always falling apart. You need to be ready because it's going to fall apart. What would be your instruction to them concerning listening to all of that, but still being confident?
I would offer them encouragement that none of this that we're worried about will remain.
Yeah.
God's going to take it all away. There's peace in that.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of times I get very frustrated with certain things, very frustrated. And when I pray about it and I dive into His Word, I find that, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's still a problem, yes. However, my mind goes into this mode of just peace.
Yeah.
And it's a peace that passes all understanding.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
It does. And so from this passage, I am in a kingdom that can't be shaken.
Yeah.
Why am I allowing myself to be shaken?
Right.
Well,
It's a promise.
I'm in a kingdom that cannot be shaken. Why am I fearful in this moment that my whole world's going to fall in? Your world's not going to fall in. You're just temporarily here.
Yeah.
You're a part of a kingdom that lasts forever. So this is supposed to fall apart. He didn't beat around the bush with that one.
No, He didn't.
He wanted to let you expect it. So confidence is saying, I'm a part of an unshakable kingdom, and this is supposed to erode.
Yeah.
I am supposed to get gray hair. I'm supposed to grow older. I'm supposed to not be able to do things I used to do when I was 18. I'm supposed to, that's what's supposed to happen, but I'm a part of an unshakable kingdom where I receive an unshakable body.
Yeah.
So, this is supposed to happen. So be confident what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the best is yet
to come.
Amen. Best yet come. So the last one.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday in the sermon. It won't be yesterday for you, but adoring gratitude for forgiveness. Remember?
Yeah.
From yesterday?
Yeah.
It should be still stretched. You won't remember it because it wasn't yesterday. Yeah, but
it was a couple days ago.
It was a couple months. It's a couple months ago at this point. But But sins
Right.
are consumed because they're man-made. Sins are consumed by the holiness of God. And that means you're forgiven. So I'm about to write a blog today that would be out a long time before it, that is going to talk about we get consumed by anger. We get consumed by frustration. We allow sometimes even our laughter to consume us and cause us to do certain actions, because anger causes you to do certain actions. Sadness causes you to do certain actions. There are emotions that cause you to do certain actions. What if we allow gratitude to cause us to do certain actions? And that's precisely what that woman did in Luke chapter 7.
Yeah.
She allowed her gratitude and that emotion to produce an action of adoring Jesus.
Right.
I want to be there.
Right.
The anger and all the stuff that happens emotionally and with my body, getting caught up in it, I want that same energy to be in my worship
All.
to Jesus.
It's all.
Yeah. And it's they were overcome. The reason I bring this up is they were overcome with a magnificent and holy God. That's why they were shaking and telling Moses to go up. I don't want to tell Moses to go up,
Right.
but I want to be overcome with the holiness, righteousness, love, grace, and mercy of God and adore him in a very, I don't want to lose my logic,
Right.
because you can go astray with just emotions.
Right.
But I want to be so consumed by him that I adore him in a better way.
Right.
And I think that's how I kind of want to end this. Consuming fire, you're not going to be consumed, like destroyed.
Right.
But when you're consumed by it, let it be a catalyst for adoration of a holy God.
Yeah. It goes back to that reverence and awe that we were talking about
Yeah.
in the scripture. Having that. You talked about the woman that came in and wept at Jesus' feet and anointed his feet.
And we don't have her history.
We don't.
Yeah.
But there is this representation of worship.
Yeah.
Like real.
He had forgiven her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was just in awe of him and just who he represents, not who, but what he represents, which is salvation. And she came in with no fear,
Yeah.
no care in the world
No care
for
in the-
anything that was going on around her or Jesus, other than just worshiping him.
Yeah.